Hey neighbors, Kevin here with eTrailer, and today I'm going to show you how to replace your worn out, broken, old roof vent on your trailer with our Camco RV roof vent. So this is going to be your no frills RV roof vent here. All it has is just a simple knob to open and close the lid. So while it doesn't have all those extra features that maybe you're looking for if you need a fan, maybe you want some lights, something like that, this isn't going to be it for you. This is more for those people that just need to exhaust stale or hot air out of their trailer. Just get a little bit more airflow in here. That way they can work or breathe, do whatever they need to. Maybe kind of keep some of their equipment cooler. Maybe you got some chemicals you're hauling in your back of your enclosed trailer, or just heavy equipment that you don't want to be so hot when you get to your site. As you can see with our model right now, he's lowering our roof vent down into the closed position. This also has a little clamp right here on the cross beam that goes across, and it's going to kind of suck that down and hold it down fully. That way when you're traveling, it's not going to accidentally rip up and get caught in the wind. One of the most common questions we get here at eTrailer is, how do I replace my roof vent lid? In this video, we are going to be installing the entire vent itself, but I just wanted to take a minute just to talk about this. If you are replacing just the roof vent lid, all you got to do is look at your hinge right here. You can see on this Camco one, it's got a continuous style hinge. On some other ones, you'll see it maybe has like a couple of brackets that kind of come out. Typically, you'll see like a 3, a 4, or a 5-piece hinge on here. The continuous was kind of the older style that you really saw in a lot of just enclosed trailers. And that's going to be the same setup for this. So if you ever needed to, we do have the roof vent lids to replace this if that ends up happening to be the problem for you. All right, so preparation is going to be key here. You want to make sure, since we're up on an enclosed trailer, there's not a lot of support. There are some beams going across, but we're not going to be hitting that if we're just stepping on this without some kind of support to kind of spread out our weight. So what I've done is just taken a plywood board here and set it across those beams just to kind of hold myself up a little bit better so I don't go crashing through this roof. All right, so with ours today, we probably could have replaced just the lid portion of this because the hinge is still here and it actually really isn't in too bad a shape. But with our neighbor today, they just want to get rid of it. It's kind of beat up. It's been raining in through the vent, so some of the components inside are kind of wore out and rusted up. So we'll show you how to get this swapped out. Starting out, we're going to have to get rid of all of our screws. So there's one, looks about every 1.5 inches, maybe 2 inches, going around the whole flange here. Our sealant is pretty rough on here right now, just because of how cold it is outside. Typically, if it's a little bit warmer in the summer, you can kind of scrape some of this up. But we'll start. I usually just take my knife and I go ahead and kind of cut out a little bit of the sealant that's stuck into the screw, just so we can get our bit in there and start popping these out. Typically, you're going to find self-tapping screws just like this. It's most common. Usually also you're going to need a square bit just so that you can get those out. These do have a Torx bit head on them, but I was still able to get that in there and pop it right on out. So to peel all this up, you can see how hard it is just because it's so cold here. We're around like 20 degrees right now, and this has been sitting outside for about a week. So this really isn't one to come up. What we can do is take a heat gun and just kind of blast it a little bit. I wouldn't sit in one spot for too long. We're not trying to melt this. We just want to kind of loosen it back up, because once you get this a little bit more warmed up, it's a little bit more pliable. With all those screws out, then we could start kind of prying up on it. If you want to, you can as well also kind of score, but you want to stay on the actual flange of this. You don't want to go past that and accidentally cut into the roof, especially if this was a soft roof. Luckily on this one, we got a nice metal roof, so it's a little bit less worrisome. Like I said, once you start getting that up, you can start to feel it. And on the bottom side, you're starting to see the butyl tape, which is also nice and sticky, and that's what kind of holds this down to the roof once you get those screws out. So depending on how good quality of butyl tape they use, that can also kind of fight you here. As I pull this up though, and I'm getting kind of separation from the roof, that's where I can be careful and just make little score lines and kind of weaken up that sealant. And we'll keep working our way up. So now that we have our old vent out, we've got the butyl tape cleaned off, we're gonna go ahead. I'm gonna take out some more of the sealant. You don't have to get it perfect. You don't have to completely remove it all. We're gonna go right back over it with more sealant. The one thing you do wanna do to make sure that that new sealant sticks to this is just wipe this down with some rubbing alcohol. With the roof vent removed, I'm now gonna remove the trim ring that's on the inside. That way when we drop our new one in, it's not gonna sit there and try and fight it. In some cases you can go ahead and just reuse it. In ours, this one's kind of broken up and it's seen better days. So we're just gonna swap it out with the new one that came with our vent. So there's a few other items that you're gonna need that aren't gonna be included with your vent. One of those is gonna be butyl tape, which we're gonna put on right now, that goes on the bottom side of our flange. And what this does is it's going to go right over where our screws sit, and when the screws poke in there, this is going to wrap around those threads. As you start to screw down your RV vent, you're going to notice it'll start to kind of fling up and spin around, and that kind of gives you a good representation of how that works. I'll go ahead and I'll peel up one edge, and I'm just going to overlap this. That way we have a nice seal between our roof vent and any water that might be sitting on the roof too. Just in case our sealant, for whatever reason, failed, butyl tape's there to back us up. With our butyl tape already, we're going to go ahead and we want to make sure that we're mounting this the correct way. We want to have it so that our hinge and our lid is lifting up, so that when the air flow is hitting it, it's not going to be trying to pull the vent up. Because if you have it backwards, I've seen a lot of trailers on the highway where this eventually can't take that pressure and that little lift arm inside of there breaks, and then the lid's flapping around all crazy and ends up getting busted. So we want to make sure that we got this going the right way. And then we'll drop it right into place and start using our mounting screws to hold this down. And the last step up here on the roof, before I go ahead and put down our sealant, I'm going to just kind of double check, make sure I don't got any loose stragglers here from when I was wiping this off. And then we can just go ahead. We're going to put a real healthy glob over every one of our screws and kind of ride the edge there. And this is some self-leveling sealant. So what this is going to do is it's going to spread out, kind of pool a little bit, and kind of cover a wider surface. So as this dries, it should pool a little bit more like you saw with the first sealant that was on here, even though I'm putting kind of a smaller bead. I like to kind of get the little start of this going and then come back and I layer on a little bit more sometimes. Now with our sealant all kind of pooled around here, if you really wanted to go the extra mile, you could add a little bit more and kind of cover up some of that old stuff. Doesn't really matter. I am covering from the flange onto the roof and then over all of those screws, so there's no way water's going to get in through it. After all that's done, you kind of want to let that sit for at least 24 to 48 hours. Just let that fully cure. If I take off with this trailer right now, with how soft this is, it's kind of just going to smear all the way back as wind hits it. So, like I said, just let it go for like 24, 48 hours. Really let it fully cure before you start moving your trailer around. Last step here is going to be just popping in our trim ring. It's pinched a little good right here, so it's kind of holding itself up. So we don't need an extra set of hands for this one, but we'll just shoot our mounting screws in. Now this is a different pattern than the previous one, so I'm going to have to drill right into these framing beams here. You want to be very careful. You don't want to over tighten these. This is just plastic. You'll crack it immediately if you do that. Well, I think that about does it for today's installation of the Camco RV roof vent here on our enclosed trailer. If you have any questions about finding and installing the correct roof vent for your trailer, go ahead and leave a comment, question, or give us a phone call, and we'd be happy to help you out.